Hello and welcome to the Boswell Sixth Form Parents Information Evening. My name is Stephen Mansell. I'm a head teacher at Boswell's. Frustratingly, at this stage, we can't have you all in the theatre and do this live, but what we thought we would do is ensure that you're kept up to date with key information that's good to know at the start of the year. So, first of all, I hope that your son or daughter has made a positive start to our sixth form. And as you may be aware, we have a record number of students in Year 12 this year, with over 140 students joining us, many of whom have made the transition from our own Year 11. We also have a large number of students that have joined us from other schools, and I hope they've managed to make some new friends and have found us approachable and supportive. As well as the vibrant and friendly atmosphere, we have extremely high expectations of all our sixth form students. Our sixth form has a track record of outstanding academic success, and this slide shows what can be achieved with hard work and commitment. It's just an example of some of our Year 13 students, what they achieved and what they've gone on to do. Our role is very much about supporting the students to achieve their aspirations, whether it be going into university, into apprenticeships, or to the world at work. We are offering the foundation for them to be successful in the future. Of last year's Year 13 students, 60% chose to go to university, 40% either deferred their place, took an apprenticeship or a gap year, or went into employment. As you will be aware, last year held many challenges for our Year 13s, but with the support of our sixth form team, we are very proud to say that our students have all gone on to do what they wanted to. You can see that there are some extremely prestigious universities on the list. And we've also had students in the past few years that have attended Oxford and Cambridge. UEA, Essex and Kent universities have been very popular destinations this year, and that's possibly due to the current circumstances. So here on this slide, you'll see what we call our ALPS thermometer. And what the ALPS does is rate nationally the performance of sixth forms. So last year, we were an ALPS grade 1, which is the best that you can be. And over the past year, 3 years, we've averaged a grade 2, which easily puts us in the top percent of school sixth forms nationally. Of course, we've started the year very differently, and as you'll be aware, we've had to make some temporary changes due to COVID. These are temporary. We're hoping to revert back to our normal days as soon as we can, but we're very much awaiting government guidance on when we are able to do this. So some of the changes we've made are listed below. So the students are coming onto the school site and leaving the school site via the gym gates. The students are only attending timetabled lessons at this stage. And when they have a lesson period 1, they need to be in registration, except on a Monday and Thursday. So Mondays and Thursdays are saved for mentoring meetings, which are one-to-one meetings that take place between the tutors and the sixth form students. They are rotated, so everybody gets an opportunity to attend them. But obviously, because they're one-to-one, we don't want all of the students in the room at the same time, especially under the current circumstances. We have had to say that students should be just attending timetabled lessons at this stage. And when students can't get home and back before their next timetabled lesson, they are able to stay on the school site. Obviously, you need to advise us of this if you haven't done already, and we will put on their timetabled supervised study. And the students will be able to go to the sixth form computer room and work independently there. At lunch times, the students are able to purchase food and drink, and the students are also able to get involved in wider school community things. But at this stage, we're yet to launch those, but we will be doing so in due course. So, in summary, your child has a wonderful opportunity in our sixth form. we very much expect they will do brilliantly. And I'm now going to hand over to Mrs. Whitehead to explain how they will do this. Bye-bye.
Hello, my name's Mrs. Whitehead and I'm Head of Sixth Form, and this is a warm welcome from the Sixth Form team. That's Mrs. Cherry as well, who's the Sixth Form coordinator, as we welcome you to the Year 12 information evening virtually. I'm going to talk through Sixth Form and what you can expect this year, and hopefully we'll answer any questions that you might have. Although I recognise that you might have heard some of this before with the information that was put together as part of the induction package. Now, to start us off with is expectations, and just to say that we have really high expectations, the high expectations that you have of hold of your children, we have them as well in Sixth Form, and the high expectations that they have of themselves and the goals that they're setting themselves, and we've already started to explore that within registration. It's really important that attendance, so that they're on time for registration if they're attending that. If they're using the study periods, that they are using those effectively, they are getting homework done, they are prepping revision materials, and they're using this time to their advantage. And that their personal development throughout their time at Sixth Form, you will notice that they grow and develop hugely into the young adults into the young adults as we treat them. And already that transition from 11 to 12, Year 12 have done fantastically, and are looking really grown up in terms of how they are dressed and how they are behaving. And then just expectations around attendance, so to personal development. So that's the personal development timetable that was sent out to you last week, and all of their timetabled lessons. And it's even more important, although it's always been really important, now that they are attending lessons and personal development and registration, as and when, that they are on time and that they are prepared to learn. And that their teachers will be expecting them to produce work of a high standard, so that when they go back to look over their notes, it's a really good quality and it's a really useful revision resource that they can use to recap their learning as well. The meeting of all deadlines goes without saying, and if they can't meet a deadline, then we ask that they talk to their subject teachers. You know, they're very reasonable people. Given what the reason is, you know, they're likely to extend that. And then finally, as you would expect, so being in Sixth Form, you know, we expect impeccable behaviour in terms of the way that we are around the school, the way that we dress, the way that we talk, as we are role models for the main school, and they aspire to be in Sixth Form and to be like Sixth Formers. So that's really important that we set a good example. And of course, that's something that I'm proud to say that, you know, students do extremely well within the Sixth Form. This is something that I would have talked to the students about, and I would have included in the induction assembly. And students are told this quite a lot, that the workload at Sixth Forms there, when you're taking 3-4 A levels, is huge. You know, often they think that going down from 10 to 4 subjects, it will be more manageable. But it is just as much as studying 10 GCSEs. And the expectation is that they are or will be spending very easily, and probably would have already started this, 5 hours of work outside the classroom per subject. And that, you know, could be homework that's set. It would be recapping learning. It would be making revision notes. It would be practicing, you know, past exam papers. Already, if your son or daughter has had psychology with me, I've been setting tests for them to revise, just to check knowledge as we move from lesson to lesson. And this is why it's really more important, really important that they make use of their study periods. So it's the study periods that they're staying in school for, so the lessons, the timetable slots between lessons, but it's also if they're going home in between lessons that they are using these study periods effectively, and making good use of the time. And in sixth form, whilst there's a lot of support that they'll get from their subject teachers, and myself and Mrs. Cherry, what we're really trying to develop and create is independent young adults who are ready to go off to work, to go to an apprenticeship, or to go off to university, wherever they may choose to go. There is always homework, so I think if they said to you that they haven't got any homework or they haven't got anything to do, that wouldn't always be true, because they could be creating revision resources from day one, recapping or reading around the subject. And so that's that level of independence that we're trying to create. We have a minimum of a D grade to progress to year 13, and that's as much for the students' benefit, because we reckon that A-levels are very difficult, and they often become more difficult in year 2, and it's making sure that we can provide them with a platform to be successful. Of course, we don't expect students to aim for the D grade. We expect them to aim much, much higher, and that's in the setting of high expectations that they will certainly experience at Boswells. We do have students at the end of year 12 that perhaps find and that they want to resit year 12, and that's often a decision that they would have come to by themselves and in discussion with their parents. It might be that they have taken the wrong subjects and they've changed their mind what it is that they want to do at university. And at the end of year 12, as we progress into year 13, every year we'll have a handful of students for various reasons who will pick up a year 12 subject, who will resit year 12, or will have a combination of year 12 and 13 courses. We pride ourselves on that we can cater to the students that we have, that we can meet their individual needs in supporting them to be successful in whatever avenue they choose to take. So supporting achievement. So morning registration is really important. Given that students don't have to be in on Monday or Thursday in registration, because those slots are put aside for mentoring, it's Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday become even more important. So if they have a lesson period 1, they should be in Tuesday, Wednesday and Friday. And across those 3 days, there will be virtual assemblies that will be delivered. There will be, notices so they know what's occurring in sixth form. And it's also an opportunity for them to speak to their tutors about achievement and if they have any concerns, or to celebrate success. Truancy call, so that's important. So if your son or daughter isn't in their first lesson of the day, you would receive a truancy text from Mrs. Cherry. So if they've got a period 1 lesson, on a Tuesday they would be in registration. So the truancy call would come early, but if their first lesson of the day was period 5, and we haven't heard anything from them and they didn't turn up, you would also get a truancy call. And that's because we recognise that it's really, really important for students not to miss out on any of their learning. If a teacher is off, they will set cover work, and in sixth form that's often set on show my homework. And if that happens to be your son or daughter's only lesson of the day, then they will not need to come in for that. In fact, they will not need to come in for a lesson where the subject teacher isn't there, because cover work will be set. So if they had a lesson period 5 and they'd been in period 2, 3 and 4, then they could go home period 5 and they could complete that work at home. Alternatively, they could stay in the computer suite. So that's cover work is set on Show My Homework. The same as if your son or daughter, misses a lesson, the expectation in sixth form is that they will email the teacher and that they would have caught up before the next lesson. So if they can catch up through talking to their peers who are studying that subject, then brilliant. If they can't, then they just need to email the teacher and let them know, and they will let them know what they've missed, and they'll be able to catch up with the work. And then finally, data drops. So there'll be various data drops throughout the year where you will receive a report, and that will indicate, attitude to learning and grades that your children are working at. And there will be parents' evenings. So parents' evenings are to be confirmed. You've got the dates, but whether they will be virtual, we don't know at the moment. So there's lots of ways in which, as a school, we will support your children's achievement. Sixth form procedures. So if your child is going to be absent, so we ask that you telephone Mrs. Cherry. Now, as we recognise that they are young adults and we're preparing them to be independent, we're also happy to have a phone call from the student, but we will send a follow-up text or a follow-up email to the number 1 contact that we have for a parent, just to confirm that we have received that. If we don't have a phone call, and I've said if we don't have a phone call from 9 a.m, then a truancy call will be made. But as I said, if your son or daughter was in period 5 and we haven't had a phone call, then you'll get a truancy call later in the day. We also have a system of planned absences. So we have a planned absence form, which students can pick up from the sixth form computer suite. And what we ask them to do is we ask them to complete the planned absence form, to get it signed by all their teachers for the lessons that they're missing, signed by parents, and then it is handed in to the sixth form office. Some planned absences may not always be granted, and what we've already talked to students about doing is trying the best they can to get appointments outside of timetabled lessons. And so, for example, theory test should be done, the driving theory test should be done outside of timetabled lessons. But we do recognise, for example, a driving test can't always be booked outside of timetabled lessons. And the planned absence approach is because we don't want students, again, to miss out on any of their learning. So we operate a late policy, and this is heavily focused on timekeeping. And it works on the principle that we're preparing young people for the working environment. And we all have within our working environments as parents, late policies that we have to adhere to. So, the time that we have to be in work. And we see that being the same for students. And so there's 2 expectations here. So the first one is if they are coming in for registration because they have a period 1 lesson on Tuesday, Wednesday or Friday, and if they have mentoring on Monday or Thursday, that they will be on time. So the Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday requires them to be in for an 8:30 prompt start. That doesn't mean arriving at school at 8:30. That means being in your registration room at 8:30. If you were arriving for your mentoring appointment, then whatever time slot your tutor has agreed with you, you need to be on time for that. And then, because we are only attending lessons at the moment, so those students that are coming in period 4 for their first lesson, or they're going home between lessons, you need to make sure that you arrive on time for all your lessons. If you are late, so you would also be late, for example, if you were expected to be in registration because you had a period 1 lesson, then you'll enter the late stages. And Mrs. Cherry records all of this data and checks it daily. So first of all, your tutor or a subject teacher would speak to you. So they'd ask you why you were late. The second time, if you're late, your tutor will call home and speak to your parents or carers. The third time, you'll get a letter home, and that will be sent directly from the sixth form office. And then the fourth time, you'll be put on report to myself. And that will mean that you'll be given a late card that you will have to get signed by your tutor, your parents and your subject teachers to say that you arrive on time. And the late card will run for 2 weeks. And each week you would need to check in with me. And then stage 5, so if, for example, you were still struggling with your timekeeping, you would go to stage 5 and you would meet with myself and a member of senior leadership, and that might be Mr. Mansell. And we would then talk to you about your timekeeping and set targets for you. So it's really important to us that you're on time. And the majority of students have made a really positive start with this. We recognise that last week they were getting used to the timetable and the change of time, but they've had a week to do that now. So the expectation is there now that they are on time this week. So advice, guidance and support. So the sixth form team, so myself and Mrs. Cherry, so we should be their first sort of port of call. So, well, tutor first, I would say, and then obviously they can come and speak to myself and Mrs. Cherry. We consider ourselves to be very approachable. The sixth form office door is always open, and we've, always got time, a wealth of knowledge and experience to talk to, year 12 and year 13 students. You'll have regular progress reviews with your tutor, so your tutor will meet with you regularly in a mentoring session, and in that mentoring session it's a really good opportunity for you to talk to them about what is going well, what isn't going well, and you can perhaps do a bit of problem solving together if needed. And those will happen on Monday and Thursday, and you'll be timetabled for that throughout a half term. But your tutor will always be available to talk to you should you need to. Your subjects will monitor your progress, so they'll be testing all the way throughout this half term. There'll be the opportunity for you to ask for feedback, and already you'll be starting to work on exam technique in preparing for those exams. University, lots of support with university. Myself and Mrs. Cherry, we have a lot of experience with that. And, the sixth form Twitter page will tweet lots of stuff that is relevant to university, whether it be virtual events that you can attend to do with completing the application. And your tutors as well, they're very experienced. They've got many years of supporting students successfully complete what they need to get off to the universities that they want to go to. With employment, you've got Mrs. Page, so career guidance, and alongside sort of university-based stuff, and when we start to work on that, we'll also have a programme in place where we can work on the apprenticeship route in preparing you for that. Traditionally, I don't know whether we'll be able to do that this year, but it's not until later in the year. Next year, we would have Lloyds in, sort of senior managers in Lloyds at different various levels, and they would come in and they would do some mock interviews with students who are thinking about taking the employment apprenticeship route. In terms of the UCAS application, we're successful at getting students into Oxbridge performance courses, Russell Group universities, so there'll be a lot of support with that and personal statements when we get to that, which won't be till sort of next year, sort of summer term next year. Although we will, and we have already got students sort of thinking about what their vision is. So, what do they want to achieve at the end of A levels? And whilst we recognise that some of the young people will know, we understand that some won't, and that at this point are starting that journey and have picked subjects that they know that they're going to enjoy. But a lot of advice, guidance and support from tutors and myself and Miss Cherry, who have a wealth of knowledge and experience in supporting your sons and daughters in this area. Just to mention that we have a fund or pot of money that we are given, and if we don't spend it, then we have to give it back, and we really don't want to give it back. We would rather spend it. So the information that you need is on the slide. I would suggest that if you have any further questions that you contact Mrs. Cherry. Her email is below, kcy@boswells-school.com. There's details on the website, and applications would like to be in by September the 25th. The money that you can claim from the bursary we can use to buy textbooks, any other resources that your son or daughter might need, food, access to food, so a budget that they can use within the canteen, and educational resources. And if that includes trips as well, we can contribute towards that. So please, if you're entitled to this, please do contact Mrs. Cherry. There is, so on the school website, there's a safeguarding section, and within that section, there's lots of links to external agencies that can offer support. You can also follow the Boswells Twitter page, which is at Boswells PD. And again, that will highlight lots of avenues for external additional support. But again, I will reinforce that if your son or daughter needs any support, please come and speak to us. We do have access to a counsellor. Her name is Mrs. Winters, and she's independent of the school, and she will be able to provide counselling if needed. Just to comment on the dress code, we have really high expectations around this, and the approach we take is a dress smart, work smart ethos. And as I mentioned before, our students are role models not only for the main school but for the community, and we are preparing students ultimately for the workplace. For the majority of students, it's been really positive, and it's a big thank you to parents for your support with that. But I just have a couple of things to mention. The first one is just the length of skirts, and I did write to you on Friday, and if you can just help us in reinforcing that. We understand that it's difficult buying skirts at knee length, but we expect students to have the skirts closer to their knee. If they don't have the skirt that's closer to their knee and it is very short, then they will be given a warning, and then if they can go home to get changed, they'll be asked to do that. If they can't, then they'll be isolated, which means that they'll sit within the sixth form and they'll complete the work there for their lessons. And then the other thing just to mention is Doc Marten boots. and we don't consider these to be smart shoes. So thank you for your support so far, and I thank you for your support in the future, for encouraging your sons and daughters to dress smart. So that dress smart, work smart ethos. So there's lots of opportunities. I'm sure that you appreciate, with the challenging times that we're in, there's also a lot of these opportunities currently that we can't offer. With the exception of the house captain, those are the ones that are in the box. And that I would hope at some point we will be able to offer those, because I know that that's part of the thriving sixth form environment that we can offer, and to be involved in the main school is hugely beneficial, not just for year 12 and year 13, but also for students within the main school. Currently we have a senior prefect team in year 13, and they are faced with the challenge of working virtually. So I'm excited to see what ideas they're going to come up this year with the restrictions that we face, and that opportunity will be available to your sons and daughters as they enter year 13. So they'll be able to apply for the prefect positions sort of June, July time. We've got the Boswell's Scallop, so that's the newsletter that we launched last year, and there's opportunities for year 12 students. If they're thinking about going into journalism or they're interested in media, they could work within the Boswell Scallop team, who will be preparing a newsletter to go out fortnightly. So if they're interested in that, please get them to come and see me. And then finally, house captain. So house captain is an opportunity for year 12 to take on a leadership role. And so they will lead one of the houses within the school, and they will work with Mr. Butler, and I would imagine they will be working virtually as well, because they will be looking at how that is going to run. So if your son or daughter is interested in the house captain role, there'll be more information to follow on that. But like I say, at some point in the future, I hope we can go back to mentoring and paired reading. And of course, work preparation is in the summertime. It is in July. That's to be confirmed. I think it's a watch this space. So a few dates for the diary. Okay, so the 4th of January is their first set of exams, mock exams, and they will be informal. So that means that they'll be carried out in lessons. You've got the presentation evening, so that's the receiving of their GCSE certificates. Parents' evening, so it's to be confirmed how that will run with you. But that's following their mock exam, so you'll get some feedback on how they're doing academically and pastorally. We've got the HE information evening, so that's where a university would come in and speak to you about the UCAS process. That's still to be confirmed, how that will run. The HE Super Fair, so that's where in past years we've gone to Essex University. All of the universities will be there, and they get the opportunity to talk to them, pick up prospectuses and ask any questions that they might have. Progression exams, so that's their progression into year 13, and then work preparation week. Okay, so the plan is, so the dates that we have given you is that we are hoping to run those events, but of course we don't know how they will run, so whether they will run virtually. So again, it's just to watch this space. So if you need to speak to us, so these are the different tutors, and they should be your first point of call, because they're supporting your son and daughter for the next 2 years throughout their sixth form journey. And they can be emailed. and you would be able to access those emails on the school website. But the email is first name, initial, first letter of the surname, and last. So Mrs. Blackmore would be ebe@boswells-school.com. So every year we ask Year 13 the same question. So if you were to start Year 12 again, what would you do differently? And each year we get the same response. 81% of students will say that they would revise more and work harder. And that's the message that we give Year 12. So, start, hit the ground as you mean to continue. Recap learning, start to make revision notes, ask subject teachers questions if you don't understand. If you feel uncomfortable, stay behind and ask them. Everybody is here to help you have the best experience that you can and achieve the grades that you want to. Okay, so that's advice that would come from Year 13s. Revise more and work harder. And I think partly they would say that because it goes really quickly. Okay, so you start Year 12, you blink, and you're already at progress exams. So that's my advice. Hit the ground running and start as you mean to go on. And that's certainly what I've observed in sixth form with the classes that I've been teaching. So conscientious, hardworking, focused students who are asking questions, which is brilliant. And then finally, this is the contact details for myself and Mrs. Cherry. If I haven't answered any questions that you have, please contact me. If you need anything, we're the people to come to, sixth form. So you can contact Mrs. Cherry at kcy@boswells-school.com. Obviously, you can call us or you can email us. And we look forward to working with you, and we look forward to working with your son or your daughter for the next 2 years. I hope you found this informative. Thank you.